Day 3 of the Conservative Political Action Conference, or CPAC, with multiple high-profile Republicans taking the stage today.
That's right. And with 2024 on the horizon, presidential candidate Nikki Haley spoke at the conference today. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who's expected to jump into the race at some point, also addressed the crowd. Several potential 2024 candidates, include Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, skipped out on this event.
I'm running for president to stop America's downward spiral toward socialism and end the self-loathing that has taken over our country. I'm running for president to renew an America that's strong and proud, not weak and woke.
The future of our American miracle is on the line in a way that I've not seen since, goodness gracious, since maybe I was in high school.
CBS News political reporter Aaron Navarro joins us now. He's there at CPAC. Aaron, I know you've been listening to everyone that's been speaking, but I'm wondering what stood out to you from Haley's speech today.
Aaron and Elaine, thanks for having me. For me, the reception to Haley is what stood out to me. The room was about half full. That's not uncommon in the early day or, the noon hour of CPAC, but the crowd stood up more out of a respect maybe and not so much excitement, not a lot of cheers, but they came to hear what she had to say. And she continued her message about being that generational change for Republicans, calling for competency tests for politicians over 70. And she made the direct contrast with Joe Biden, saying that she's 50 years old and Joe Biden is 30 years older than her. But as the crowd here knows, this is a very Trump-friendly crowd, Donald Trump is right around that age. And while she, continued to give her stump speech and her message for how to take the party forward, whether it comes to school and education or addressing the threat of the Chinese Communist Party to her, it was when she came out and interacted with people here in the hallways that we saw a divide. We saw people saying, oh, it's so great to meet you. I'm glad you're running for president, as well as some very loud Trump supporters chanting, Trump 2024, Trump 2024. Now, she didn't take many questions from the press. She took a couple selfies with people that wanted them here, but it's obvious that she, coming here to CPAC, came to Trump country in a sense.
Really interesting to hear about that dynamic.
Yeah.
So former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, as we said, is expected to announce a 2024 bid at some point. How did he lay the groundwork for a potential run today?
That's right. Pompeo said back in February his trips to Iowa and New Hampshire are, quote, not random. And while he has not jumped into the race, he made an interesting pitch to the crowd here at CPAC, noting, and Haley did this too, that Republicans have lost numerous popular votes, whether that be presidential or midterm votes. And he said that there is a crisis in conservatism. He said that the party needs to move on from larger-than-life personalities or people with big egos. And that's not an explicit, he didn't explicitly say Donald Trump, but that is a bit of a jab at the potential primary opponent there. But Secretary of State or former Secretary of State Pompeo also leaned into that former position, saying that he was one of the first Republican officials to come out against the Chinese Communist Party in a big way, saying that he was told to shut up, actually, during his time as Secretary of State. He didn't specify by who, if that was by the Trump administration, but it's obvious he's trying to carve that lane in the Republican base and tap into that issue surrounding China, which has gotten a lot of play and energy here at CPAC.
It's interesting, too, because both of the people you've just mentioned, Pompeo and Haley, were part of the Trump administration. And so it's interesting to hear anything they say that tries to create some space between themselves and the former president, who is slated to speak at the event tomorrow. So tell us about what people are expecting from Donald Trump and what he may have hinted he'll mention.
This is the big keynote address of the conference. Donald Trump speaking tomorrow night, closing out CPAC. And it's expected that he will start to paint his potential primary rivals in a negative light. And it was interesting. Earlier today, politicians that have already endorsed him in 2024, such as Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, they came out, they talked to press, and we asked about the potential candidates, Ron DeSantis, Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, that Trump will be seeing in 2024. 2024, and they were already on the attack, almost acting like campaign surrogates here, saying that, oh, DeSantis should maybe just ask for a third term as Florida governor. Marjorie Taylor Greene said that Nikki Haley, she doesn't really listen to her when it comes to conservative ideals. Matt Gaetz said he didn't even watch Nikki Haley's speech. So Donald Trump, he'll give the newest sound and try to paint his potential rivals in a negative light, and that's really what I'm expecting. I was at CPAC in 2022 when Ron DeSantis attended that one, and Trump, kind of sent warning shots to potential candidates, saying that he is still the king and the kingmaker of the Republican Party. So that's kind of the message I'm expecting today. And talking to voters here, most of them have said if they had to vote in the 2024 presidential primary today, they would choose former President Trump.
Wow, things are already heating up, it sounds like, Aaron, and it's only March of 2023. Aaron Navarro for us just outside Washington. Aaron, thank you so much.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks for having me.